Okay, let's start with a question that might make you pause. When a luxury brand like Ralph Lauren collaborates with a small, historically black community known for quilting, is it cultural appreciation, exploitation, or just smart marketing? This new collection dropping in 2026 isn't just about fashion. It's a lightning rod for bigger conversations about art, ethics, and who really benefits when high fashion discovers marginalized traditions. Here's the surface-level story. Ralph Lauren hooked up with fifth-gen quilters from Gee's Bend, Alabama, a community famous for turning scraps into abstract art. They made a line mixing their bold, asymmetrical quilt designs with Ralph Lauren's denim-heavy aesthetic. Upcycled fabrics, hand-stitched details, and even ceramic tableware inspired by their work. 10% of this? We're going to zoom in on why this collab feels different, and why it might not be as simple as supporting artisans. First off, let's unpack the history here. Gee's Bend quilters aren't just crafters, they're preserving a legacy born from slavery, poverty, and resilience. These women used leftover fabric from workwear to create functional art that museums now call high art. But here's the twist. Now Ralph Lauren, a brand synonymous with preppy luxury, is selling $300 scarves featuring their designs. What's fascinating, and a little uncomfortable, is how a tradition rooted in survival becomes a status symbol. Are we celebrating their art, or commodifying it? I'd argue it's both. Now, the brand's PR says this is part of their design with intent initiative, aiming to collaborate rather than just copy. Claudia Pettway Charley and Loretta Pettway Bennett aren't just names here, they're credited as artists. But let's not mistake credit for equity. How much of the profit actually goes back to the community? 5% of sales go to the Equal Justice Initiative, which does vital work fighting hunger in Alabama. That's admirable, but it's also a tax-deductible move that boosts Ralph Lauren's image. Is this philanthropy or a calculated brand shield? What I find most intriguing is the design clash. Denim, a fabric tied to American labor, and Gee's Bend's improvisational style, which literally stitched survival into art. It's poetic, right? But also ironic. These quilts once kept families warm in makeshift homes. Now they're on $500 jackets worn by people who'd never stepped foot in Alabama. The collection's asymmetry and visible stitching aren't just aesthetic choices. They're nods to imperfection in a world that demands flawlessness. That's deep if you think about it. Luxury fashion selling the idea of flaws as exclusivity. But here's the real question. Does this collab empower Gee's Bend artists, or just repackaging their heritage for a new audience? On one hand, it gives them global exposure. On the flip side, how do you protect a living tradition from becoming a fleeting trend? The quilter's motifs, like Loretta's red triangles symbolizing her sons, carry personal meaning. But once those symbols hit a runway, their intimacy gets diluted. It's the same paradox we see with indigenous patterns or streetwear brands co-opting hip-hop culture. So where does this leave us? This collab is a mirror. It reflects fashion's growing, but still shaky, effort to engage with ethical design. It highlights sustainability through upcycled materials, smart, given Gen Z's climate anxiety, but also raises eyebrows when a brand with a fast fashion sibling, Polo isn't exactly Patagonia, touts responsibility. Ultimately, it's a step forward, but steps can backtrack. My hope? This opens doors for Gee's Bend artists to control their own narratives, not just lend their names. But as long as the fashion industry's machine keeps spinning, we'll keep asking the same questions. What do you think? Can luxury ever collaborate without colonizing? Drop your take below.